Happy Thursday. Welcome on into Let's Bet It. Lauren Javar here with Jared Smith. Jared, Thirsty Thursday. How are we doing today?
Oh, up early today, watching the golf, feeling fantastic. So you want to hear something funny? This is actually hilarious. So yesterday we did something different with our plays of the day, or at least my play of the day. I picked two walk props. I like them both equally,
Mm-hmm.
and we did a poll, and we let the people decide which one was going to be the Pickswise LBI play of the day. So Joe Ryan and Lucas Giolito. Joe Ryan went over. Lucas Giolito did not. Guess which one
Mm-hmm.
the people chose for the play of the day?
Joe Ryan.
The, no, the losing one. So again, this is how hard it is, guys. I give you two walk props. They're both priced the same. I like them both equally. I think there's like 30 votes in the chat. They picked Lucas Giolito. He loses. Joe Ryan, the one they didn't pick, wins. Ain't easy doing this job, right, guys? Ain't easy.
That's a true statement. Let me tell ya. The other day, Tuesday, I had 4 strikeout props, and guess who hit over on all of them?
Wow. Oh, so I guess it is easy. That's not a
I mean,
that's a humble
no, but that
brag
was
right
like
there. Maybe a not so humble brag.
that's a special day. That doesn't happen every
That
day.
is a
But
special
I was
day.
like
It
sitting there
deserves
and I'm like Spencer
recognition.
Strider over. Like everyone hit their overs. Dylan Cease over. I was like, oh my God, what's going on? It
Spencer
was a good day
Strider
though.
is now the favorite to win the National League Rookie of the Year. And we,
Mm-hmm.
you know, we we
Alongside
we, we
O'Neal
got in at a
Cruz
very
and
good
Michael
time
Harris
there.
second. Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna wait. I think Strider. We can talk later about those markets when we do baseball. But the futures markets really are starting to come into focus. The awards markets in the major league. I think we're really, it's pretty easy. I think at this point to tell you who's gonna win. There's like one or two guys really in each market that are really the only two guys that I would pick.
Yeah, it is true. Lots to get to today. Better Up with Danny Burke. We're going to have him on in a little bit. We have some WNBA picks. Is the trend your friend? Talking about some trends and if we follow them or not. But before we get into that, the Open Championship going on right now at St. Andrews. This is part of the reason why you were up early. I slept in and caught up when I woke up because it's been a busy last week plus or so. But right now, Cameron Young sitting at first place. He's 8 under par. He's done for the day. Cameron Smith tied for second right now with Rory McIlroy, who's through 14. Some of these guys, though, we're not going to see up there by the end of the day today because Tiger Woods is teeing off right about now. So Xander Schauffele right now is under 4 through 14. It's just exciting to kind of watch these guys and see how it progresses. We have day 1 of 4. But as of right now, this is where things sit. Bryson DeChambeau only at 3 under, and he's through for the day. Ian Poulter 3 under. So we see some of these guys that are on the Live Series maybe not doing as well too. So your expectations heading into the rest of the day today?
Well, most of the field is on the course or done. So again, because of the time difference at this stage of the morning, it's only 10 a.m. Eastern, but for the most part, everyone's either on the course or finished. There's only like 3 or 4 groups that haven't teed off yet. Tiger Woods just teed off. So
Mm-hmm.
the conditions, so as we talked about yesterday with Diane, the conditions today are going to get increasingly more difficult throughout the day. In fact, I have noticed over the last hour or so, they have gotten a lot more difficult. So the first round leader bets that I targeted are all done. Cameron Smith in 5 under. I've got him as a top 5 first round leader at 10-1, barring some kind of insane run from some of these late, guys. I think we're going to hit that bet. And then I got in on Cameron Young live at plus 120 to be the first round leader. So I'm feeling fantastic about the portfolio right now. And you mentioned Rory. That's my outright pick. That's one of Diane's outright picks. We still got Jordan Spieth coming on later. Scotty Scheffler actually just birdied the 5th hole. He's 3 under. So there are some really good golfers near the top of this leaderboard. If the wind stays calm, the conditions will be favorable for low scores. But I think this afternoon the wind might blow a little hooly, as they say over in Scotland, and things might get a little dicey. But right now, I feel fantastic about where I'm at, and we'll have updates. I think Diane's coming on Saturday, so we will have another live
Okay.
update for you Saturday morning, and then of course tomorrow morning as well. But I mean, right now, a lot of firepower at the top. Cameron Smith, Rory McIlroy, Xander Schauffele, Bryson DeChambeau, Scotty Scheffler, Justin Thomas, you name it. A lot of fun golf over the next 3 days is going to be played.
You name it, we got it at the Open Championship. Make sure to tune in. It's going to be exciting following some of these guys over the next few days, seeing how they're trending upwards in the US in the Open Championship. All right, speaking of trends, let's get into, is the trend your friend? I'm going to give you a few trends, Jared. You don't know about these. And you're going to tell me if you follow the trend, or if you fade the trend, or if you just pass. Because Zeno, I did this with him the other day, and he didn't like fading the trend. He's like, I'm just going to pass the trend. I'm like, okay, you can do that too. So 3 options. You tail the trend, you fade the trend, or you pass the trend. I know.
The guy that stands at the corner of the party and like make sure nobody spikes the punch bowl, like.
Totally, yeah. That's Zeno. I mean, I hope no one spikes the punch bowl anyways. But that's neither here nor there. Okay, first trend. Royals run line. The Blue Jays are 0-10 on the run line in their last 10 games against the American League. The one faux pas of this trend is the Royals are missing about 10 players that couldn't make the trip to Canada for one reason or another. But the Blue Jays are 0-10 on the run line in their last 10. So I kind of like the Royals run line here. Will you follow the trend or you fade the trend?
I would fade that trend. I think the Blue Jays, who just fired their manager and won yesterday in a blowout, are in good shape. I think they're going to percolate, and we're going to see some positive regression for a Blue Jays team that should be well above 5 games over 500 at this stage of the season with their talent. So I guess I'm fading the trend if your trend is to fade the Blue Jays, because I'm on the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays are a positive team.
Next trend, Cubs versus Mets. No run first inning. The Mets Nerfy is hit in 7 of the last 7 games.
Yeah, I had that trend on the Yurfie trends today. Let's take a look at my sheet for today. Cubs, Mets. Carrasco's been okay. He's been okay. Keegan Thompson's kind of a gas can, but he's 8-2, 5-0 in the home this year to the Nerfy. The Mets are a good, like the Mets lineup is good. They've just been in a slump lately. The Pete Alonso thing is weird. I read a story that he still has like PTSD from a car crash in March, and it's like it's starting to like really have an impact because he hasn't been really swinging it well. Lindor hit a big home run against your Braves yesterday.
Alonso's been playing well. He played well against the Braves this past weekend or week.
Yeah, so I would say I would fade that. I think we're gonna. And now, what's the wind doing at Wrigley? That's the key. Check and look at the wind at Wrigley Field. If the wind's blowing out at Wrigley,
we love the Doppler radar.
You do love a good Doppler radar.
I love the Doppler radar. Okay, what about a Yurfie? Yankees versus Reds. The Yankees, yes, run first inning is 6-0 in their last 6 games at home.
Interesting. Are you sure about that? I thought a Nerfy hit the other day there. Are you sure about that trend?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. No. It was. You're right. It's 3 in a row, and they were on the road over the weekend. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Yes. I would absolutely play that. I would play that. I would tail that trend.
Braves versus Nats. The over is 5-0 in the last 5 meetings between these two teams, and the Braves have swept the last 2 series against them too. But that doesn't have to do with anything. The Nats over, and the over is 5-0 in the last 5 between these teams.
Who is pitching? Who's pitching?
Kyle Wright's pitching for the Braves. I'm not sure who's pitching for the Nats.
Hold on, let me see. I am on my sheet right here. Kyle Wright. Oh, Anibal Sanchez making his 2022 debut. It's his first start since 2020. Yeah, I'll bet the over in that game. Yeah, I'll tell the trend.
And the last one, Cardinals run line. They are 5-0 as run line dogs in their last 5 against the NL West.
Yeah, the Cardinals, we were just talking about this before the show. The Cardinals last night blew a 6-0 lead against the Dodgers. Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be betting on anything Cardinals related right now after that.
Okay. Those are our trends. Is the trend your friend, my friend?
I got one for you.
Too.
Well, it goes with your pick. So I'll read it, and then you'll tell me why you like it, because obviously it's one of your baseball picks today. So
I can't give my picks yet because we need to bring in Danny first.
Well, that's up to you. I guess that's up to Justin how you want to play that. But this trend is very much worth mentioning. We can wait until you give your your pick, but then you're going to give the pick and then the trend comes after. I don't think that makes much sense. I think we can do this one pick now, and then you can give me
Okay,
the
give me
trend
your trend.
when Danny comes on. I think that's totally fine. All right. The total in the Brewers-Giants game tonight is 6. It's absurd. Corbin Burnes, Carlos Rodon. I understand it. The pitching matchup is really good. It's the lowest total of the entire season in baseball. Last year, there were 21 games that had a total of 6. The under went 12, 8, and 1. What is your total bet for Brewers-Giants tonight?
Yeah, I'm betting the under here. I'm not afraid of a low total. I'm betting the under 6 at -102. Corbin Burnes starting for the Brewers. He's 7-4 on the season, 2.20 ERA, 0.89 WHIP, over 106.1 innings pitched. Are you kidding me? And then the Giants are obviously pitching Carlos Rodon, which I'm also on his strikeout props today. So we'll get to that in a little bit too. But he's 8-5, 2.70 ERA, 1.06 WHIP, over 100 innings pitched. Both teams coming in with over 500 record. Both are really good teams. San Francisco's playing well. Sucks that they have to chase down the Dodgers for the top of the NL West because the Dodgers are just like unstoppable right now. But Corbin Burnes has only allowed 6 runs in his last 33.2 innings pitched, and Rodon has only allowed 7 runs in his last 35 innings pitched. This is a battle of 2 aces. It's going to be a low-scoring game. It's tough to get hits and runs against good pitching. I just saw that with the Braves playing against the Mets, and the Braves offense has been rolling, and they weren't able to get anything going against the Mets. When you're seeing good pitching, it's hard to get hits, it's hard to get runs. So I actually like the under 6 here, and I know it's a low total, the lowest of Major League Baseball this season. -102, why not? Laying 2 cents for it. Burnes against Rodon, I'm in for it. Under 6,
The
baby.
trend is her friend.
This is going to be a 2-1 kind of a game. 2-1.
Yeah, the trend is your friend. The under's 12, 8, and 1 in
Yeah.
games that were 6 or under, or that games were 6 last year. So
Yeah.
that's 60%. That's pretty good.
Love that. Love that. Okay, for more, let's bring in Danny Burke. He's the host of Rush Hour Monday through Friday on VSiN 7, the Bet River City Cast. Danny boy. I'm going to call you Danny boy. How are you today? Happy
Danny boy.
Thursday.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys. I'm excited to be here. I'm feeling pretty good because, well, usually we kind of have like a crap slate in baseball on Thursdays for whatever reason, but there are some good opportunities, I think, tonight, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, did you just hear my cap of the Brewers Giants under 6? Do you kind of agree, or are you fading me on that one?
I mean, look, you can't really bet the over in that game, right? But at the same time, someone such as myself, if the total is as low as 6 for a full game, personally, I'm going to stay away from it just because it's so low. But I completely agree with your assessment. I mean, you got 2 of the top pitchers in the National League, and I know Rodon has been really kind of a bright spot in what's been an up and down season for the Giants, and Burnes is kind of getting back into the mix. And the Brewers can struggle from time to time, and it's a pitcher's friendly park. So I definitely would lean toward the under in some capacity. But like I said, 6 is a little too low for me to want to officially get involved with it. Right.
Yeah, it is.
But I get you. I get you.
Yeah, definitely. I think the trend, but the trend backs up the fact that the unders have hit there. So I can't argue with the pick. All right, let's get into your picks, Danny. And the first pick on your card today is in this Astros Angels game. I'm all over this game from an Astros perspective, but I do think Valdez has been a little bit volatile at times this year. So tell me why, or I guess maybe it could be fading Detmers. Tell me why Valdez is going to have a good outing tonight, and you're on the Astros.
Really, I mean, it's a plethora of reasons, right? It's a bounce back spot for the Astros. We talk about bright spots. There's really only one for the Angels, and that's when Ohtani takes the bump, and he was on it last night, and that led to an Angels victory. So now the Astros have their chance to get their revenge and come back in a good situation. And you mentioned Detmers. I mean, this guy is almost an auto fade every time you see him. I mean, you could really argue that for every Angels pitcher aside from Ohtani, but you take that into account, and you also have to consider how good the Astros have been against lefties this year. I mean, they've really just been crushing it when it comes to hitting southpaws. They got, a 734 OPS, 112 weighted runs created plus. So they've really been a bunch of studs when it comes to southpaws, and what better guy to go against than Detmers? And then you look at Valdez, and he's been a little shaky here and there, but a good opportunity for himself to kind of get back into a rhythm against a struggling Angels team that is not hitting lefties particularly well. 669 OPS. 92 WRC plus. And Valdez did well when he went up against the Angels already this year. 6 innings, 4 hits, just 2 earned runs. So I like the Astros on the run line here because I don't want to lay over a $1.80. So I got them about minus 105, thinking it's a bounce back spot, not only for the Astros, but for Valdez. And you'll see Detmers do Detmers things, which is probably going to struggle against one of the better teams in Houston.
Let's take it to the AL Central for a second, because you look at a team like the White Sox right now, they're just under 500 for the season. Is there any value in betting on them at plus 165 at this point to win the AL Central? Because right now they're 4.5 or 5 games back from the Twins and a half game behind the Guardians right now.
So I'm from Chicago, like you were saying. My shows are broadcasted out of here. I grew up here, but I am a diehard Cubs fan, and I grew up hating the White Sox more than any team because my friends would always just give me so much crap, especially around 2005. So I always had this disdain for the White Sox, but the last couple of years when the Cubs have been struggling, I was kind of getting excited about this team because they got a good young core. I mean, Tim Anderson leading the way, a lot of excitement in Chicago, and they've just been a complete disappointment this season. But to win the AL Central, I've kept saying, there's value with this team, right? At some point, they're going to turn things around. But now you're starting to question, is that actually going to happen, or is this just who they are? Because I don't think anything's really going to change in terms of contending for World Series unless you get old man La Russa out of the mix. I mean, clearly nobody likes him as their manager. There's so many underlying issues. They got shafted with injuries here and there. Now they're starting to get healthy, but even with Lance Lynn back, the man has struggled. He hasn't been consistent. Menace kind of just got banged up once again last night, and it's just there's no rhythm. They can't hit righties. It's a mess all over the place. And I've been saying because they got up to like 2-1, yeah, there's still value because the rest of the division you would think would kind of end up shooting themselves in the foot. But the Twins are looking like a great team at home. They've actually had better pitching than I thought they would. I think the Guardians will start to falter. I wouldn't worry about them too much, but it's going to come down to the Sox and the Twins is what it's looking like regardless. But, man, I mean, it's just, do you think they can turn it around in the second half? The big series against Minnesota starts today. I took them when they were minus 110 like 2 months ago because I couldn't foresee them being this poor. But they do have the easiest, or at least one of the easiest schedules in the second half of the season. So if you think maybe they can kick La Russa out of there, maybe the All-Star break helps them and the schedule's going to benefit them, then yeah, there's certainly some value. But there's no way I'm double dipping and getting invested once again in this disastrous of a team.
Yeah, Danny, that's tough. So the futures markets right now, the awards markets specifically, if we get away from the team markets, the player awards markets, I think are the most interesting throughout the course of the season because unlike, with the World Series and the pennants, like you still have to play the postseason. But when you get these award markets, you can kind of put yourself in the minds of the voters a little bit. And I think that helps gain a little bit of an edge that maybe the implied odds of each bet isn't quite taking into account. So let's start with the Cy Young, because especially on the American League side, I think on the National League side, there's a little more intrigue as good as Sandy's been. On the American League side, I think it's a 2-horse race. If it's not going to be Shane McClanahan, I think it's going to be Justin Verlander. How would you handicap that race? Right now, McClanahan is the favorite, but Verlander's got the narrative coming off the injury. Who would you be voting for right now with these guys kind of even in the market?
Yeah, like you said, the American League is not necessarily as intriguing for Cy Young, but you make a very valid point, which is when it comes to these type of awards, you got to circle around what narrative benefits which player. And as you alluded to, Justin Verlander may have a little bit better narrative, having that experience, just knowing his name, brand recognition, and being on a great team in Houston. I mean, McClanahan has been a fantastic story. Nobody's denying that. But I think what you also have to consider is which team do you trust a little bit more to have that constant success in the latter half of the season? And I think you almost got to give the nod to you definitely got to give the nod to the Astros, but yeah, I'm with you, man. I mean, Verlander, 11 wins this year, most Major League Baseball alongside Tony Gonsolin. But I think you got to go with Verlander. Not one of my favorite. I mean, not that I bet it, but not the side I would look toward, leaning with to make a play. But if I had to, I think I'm with you, and I got to go with Justin.
So All-Star break right around the corner, right? These guys are going to have 4 days off unless they're in the All-Star game. time to decompress mentally, physically. You look at the second half of the season. Which teams are you looking to fade, to bet against in the second half of the season that maybe won't be as strong as they were in the first half, or are going to continue to kind of fail here in the second half?
Well, I'm smiling because, I talked about me being a Cubs fan, but I also love fading the Cubs if they're not going to benefit me as a fan. And they have to be one of the top teams to look to fade in the second half. I mean, they've been a
Yeah.
great team to fade a lot in the first half of the year, but when you get to the second half, even with some tanking teams or not tanking, just struggling. I mean, look at a team, you could look in the NL Central, the Pirates, for example. I mean, they're at least bringing up prospects and still competing in a lot of spots. The Cubs aren't really bringing up anybody. The only reason they're doing it is because they need to, not because they want to or want to develop anybody or have any top tier talent to develop. So at this point, it's just a bad team. And upper management and the front office and whatnot, they're telling you they're not tanking, which clearly is a blatant lie. And they're dealing with injuries all in the pitching staff. Even if they weren't, it didn't matter. They're still just blowing all over the place. And they're probably going to ship off Wilson Contreras at this point. So, yeah, I mean, the Cubs, you're not going to get the best price fading them because it's expected by the odds makers as at this point. But honestly, I think that could be a really good look if you're just trying to fade the Cubs day in and day out on the right situation. Like tonight, for example, you got Keegan Thompson taking the bump. He's kind of been a really good starter, especially at home for the Cubbies. I know Steele was rocky yesterday, but he's been a guy who's also been fairly strong for the Cubs as of this point. But anybody else you could probably look to fade. And then just some of the other teams. I mean, we know Oakland's already been an automatic fade, but they'll probably continue to be once they start shipping off more pieces. And, a team maybe like the Nationals, they've got some okay young guys, but it's nothing out of the not any team that nobody's already talking about fading, but I would say the Cubs, because people still think they can be competitive here and there, they're definitely going to be just terrible in the second half of this year.
So Jason Stark dropped a column this morning on The Athletic, and he put Yordan Alvarez as the AL MVP ahead of Aaron Judge. And I don't know if the market moved as a direct result of that, but overnight, maybe it was because of how good Ohtani was last night, Shohei Ohtani leapfrogged Aaron Judge to be the odds-on favorite, and it was a pretty big move. Like, Ohtani at the Westgate right now is like minus 175. He was like plus money last night. What are your thoughts on that market? Alvarez, obviously, with the Astros, they're probably going to win the American League West, and they're probably going to either have the best or the second best record in baseball. Aaron Judge has been amazing, but Shohei is different. Like, the rules don't apply to him when it comes to voter fatigue and all the things we normally think about when we're handicapping an AL MVP market. Is Shohei the runaway here, or does Judge or Alvarez really have a chance? Because the market right now is telling us that Ohtani is going to win this award.
I don't think he's the runaway, but he absolutely deserves to be at the top. I mean, nobody's denying that. But what you also have to realize with Shohei Ohtani is, one, he set the bar so high for himself last year winning it, and not that he's not already on that trajectory once again this season, but to kind of overexceed that is such a tall task, especially with so many remaining games left. And you look at a guy like Aaron Judge. This Yankees team is just unbelievably dominant this year, which has to boost Aaron Judge being in the bigger market, being on what I think is the best team in baseball. And Aaron Judge has slumped a little bit. He'll pick it back up, and now you're getting better value with them. I would bet Judge over Ohtani if you gave me the two options right now.
Wow.
The Angels aren't even a playoff team right now, right? I mean, that has to hurt Ohtani to some degree. And Trout being in the competition, you kind of have that adage about, two superstars hurting. I don't know if that's actually going to hold any weight. But the Angels just being a terrible team, you got to think hinders Ohtani's chances to some degree. And because of where he set the bar from last year and just how good the Yankees have been with Judge leading the way. The issue with Alvarez, of course, is his injury. And then I would still have him under Aaron Judge. That's kind of the issue right now. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not looking to lay a price or do anything around even money with Ohtani. And I'm not saying like plus 150 where I'm seeing some numbers on Judge is that enticing. But if I had to pick head to head, I think I got to take the better price on the guy who's on the way better team right now.
All right, let's get into some of our picks. I don't know, Danny, if you bet a lot of Yerfies and Nerfies. Jared bets a lot of yes run first inning and no run first inning. We're keeping track of the trends. No run first inning. Went 10-6 yesterday. The Nerfie right now is 54.7%, which is, if you bet all Nerfies on the season, you're up 10.19 units in July. The longest current streak right now is the Mets have a 7 straight Nerfie run at this point. I know, Danny, you talked about maybe playing something in the Rockies game. Jared, I want you to talk about your Nerfies that you're having in the Rockies game today.
Yeah, so the the Nerfy at Coors Field is like my baby this year. I'm fascinated to see the results of it. So the Yerfy at Coors Field is actually 7 over 500, 27-20, but it is down more units if you do a 1 unit flat bet on each than the Nerfy because of the juice associated with it. So tonight, the Nerfy at Coors Field, the best price I could find was plus 150 over at Bet365. Well, plus 150 tells me 40% implied odds. Well, the Nerfy at Coors Field is hitting at 42.6% this year. So 27 out of 20, so 20 out of 47. So you're already getting some plus EV there. Now let's look at the pitching matchup. Blake Snell, Kyle Freeland. Snell's been pretty good, 7-2 to the Nerfy this year, and he's also pitched at Coors Field once this year, and it was a Nerfy. Kyle Freeland's been a little 5-4 at home this year to the Nerfy, but we've seen these two teams score in 2 out of the first 3 games in the first inning, and I just, I feel like these are kind of even based off of the odds and what the pitching matchup is telling me. So I'll take the plus 150, and I'll hope that it's a 2-2 Nerfy series for the Padres and the Rockies. Also, I like that it's a day game today. It's a 3 o'clock Eastern start, 1 o'clock Mountain. So maybe a little sleepy bats early. But I did see in our rundown that you're interested in something Rockies related. So I guess maybe you back the Nerfy with me.
Hey, I get your reasoning there. The value is always astounding when you look at it at Coors Field, and rightfully so, based on how many runs we see. And, a lot of times when you get pitchers who have seen teams, sometimes that's not the best case scenario with the familiarity. But I think in this particular situation, kind of like you were mentioning at Coors, because, Coors is just its own universe, it seems sometimes. So the fact that they have both, of course, being Kyle Freeland, but Blake Snell has pitched there, you would hope that he could at least survive 1 inning. And like you said, again, the value there, I think the only way you can bet it is taking the no at about plus 150 with these pitch. I mean, Blake Snell, he struggled and his record isn't great, but he's been picking it up the last 2 games. But I will say I'm not necessarily interested in the yes or no run first inning for this game. I think if anything, and I don't know if I'm going to play it because I don't really like betting these situations. I think this is a 3-game series, and you really don't like to bet a team that's about to sweep a lot of times, especially if it's a team like the Rockies. But at home, they really thrive, and they do even better against Southpaws. And like we talked about, they already faced each other. And Blake Snell, he's been okay against the Rockies, but they've lost both of those games. Conversely, Kyle Freeland has gotten 2 dubs, both home and away, against the Padres. And these Rockies bats, like we said, have just not only becoming alive as of late, but really just against Southpaws at home. Colorado, 877 OPS in those situations with a 118 WRC plus. The Padres against Southpaws are pretty good. They got a 102 WRC plus themselves. But also what you have to be worried about if you're looking at the plus money with Colorado is trusting their bullpen that has the second highest ERA in Major League Baseball at 4.74. So I was contemplating going with the Rockies with the plus money, but I could see this being a bounce back spot for the Padres themselves. So I'm going to wait a little bit to see where this market kind of ends up at, but I'm contemplating the Rockies because of that plus money price right now.
Yeah, another game out west is the Brewers Giants. I told you I'm taking the under 6 in that one. I know it's a low total, but another prop that I'm looking at in that game is Carlos Rodon over 7.5 strikeouts. It is a little juicy. I'm laying 46 cents for it, and the number might be a little bit tight, but it is worth a shot given his track record. He's gone over this total in 4 of his last 6 starts. And I think that this is a really solid matchup for him against the Brewers. The Brewers have the 9th highest strikeout rate against lefties over the last 2 weeks at 24.5%. And the Brewers only have an average WRC plus of 92. You look at Carlos Rodon, he's thrown at least 6 innings pitched in 5 of his last 6 starts. And I just think he has a great shot of being able to do the same tonight. I mean, Vegas knows best, right? 7.5. That's a high number. I know it's juicy at laying 46 cents for it, and it might be tight, but I really see him going over in this spot. And this is going to be a pitcher's duel, like I was saying. I'm hoping the over strikeouts hits because I want the under game total to hit as well. So keeping my fingers crossed. Two bets on the same game. Your thoughts on Rodon over 7.5 Ks?
Yeah, I think it's a similar situation to where it's like I wouldn't want to be betting the under with Rodon in this spot. Like you said, I mean, the Brewers not doing the best in terms of avoiding the strikeouts, and I'm sure it's even worse when it comes to specifics with the southpaws. And Rodon is really just picking it up as of late, and he has to get up for this game, right? He knows this is a premier pitching matchup, and that these are two guys, of course, still in the race for Cy Young on the NL side. So I think the one thing that would give me trepidation to doing that is just laying that juice on a high strikeout prop. But again, I think your assessment of it is completely on the right track. And yeah, I would have to lean over. But yeah, the only thing, like I said, the juice would probably throw me away from it. But yeah, Rodon's got some nasty stuff. And we talk about the bright spots. Rodon has been it from the Giants. I thought he was going to take a slight step back after his great year that he had with the White Sox. You get the big contract. Maybe you get kind of lackadaisical, but nah, man, this guy has just kept it going. So he's definitely got to do it tonight in this top-tier game against a great pitcher in Corbin Burnes.
Yeah. The juice ain't worth the squeeze for you, but give me all that OJ, baby. I'm ready to go. Jared's bread and butter this whole season has been his walk props. He has 2 of them today, and then a whole parlay. The walk this way parlay.
Sing it, baby.
Give us what you got, Jared.
Danny, it's been a revolutionizing experience for me because I've been betting on strikeout props for years, and outs props and the hits props. I never really got involved in those, but the walks props have been interesting. And the reason being, with a strikeout prop 6.5, 7.5, you need 7, 8, 9 things to go your way. With the walks, it's 1.5. I really only need 2 at bats to work out in my favor over the course of the game. So a little bit of I don't want to say easier handicap, but a little bit less needs to work out in my favor in order to hit these. So we've had some success. The record after yesterday, 37-29 overall. Just betting overs, 37-26, up 12.5 units. So I am really enjoying the walk props. I have 2 of them today. So here's what we're going to do. Yesterday we did a poll for play of the day, and you guys picked wrong. We'll give you another chance today. So I'll put the Nerfy in there, the Padres Rockies, and we'll also put these 2 walk props in there, and we'll let the YouTube people decide what is our play of the day for my Let's Bet It pod. So we'll start with Framber Valdez. We talked a little bit about him so far today. Over 1.5 walks, laid 25 cents for this one. 76% hit rate for Valdez, 13 out of 17 starts this year, and 7 of the last 8 have gone over 1.5 walks. If you just isolate Trout, Ohtani, 8 walks in 44 career plate appearances. I think we can get one from each of those guys today. Now, I don't know if they'll be in the lineup. That's another question for another day. We'll know later. But those 2 guys specifically, I think could each get a walk, and we could go over this right there. But overall, the Angels lineup trending in a very positive direction, especially against lefties. 5 straight left-handed starters have gone over 1.5 walks against the Angels, and they have the 6th highest walk rate against lefties this year at almost 10%. So that's laying juice. Here's a plus money one that I like. Nestor Cortez over 1.5 at plus 135. So Nestor's hit rate is at 44% this year, 7 out of 16 starts. That equates to plus 129, and we're getting plus 135. So there's just a little bit of slight plus EV there. But then we look at the trend, the full season trend, and it's moving in the opposite direction. Nestor started great. He went under this total in 3 of his first 9. He's an all-star. But over his last few starts, he's shown, some weakness, some regression. And he's gone over this mark in 4 of his last 7 starts. Meanwhile, you've got a very good Cincinnati team against lefties. 3 of the last 4 lefty starters have gone over this number against the Reds, including the AL Cy Young favorite, Shane McClanahan, who walked 2 batters against Cincinnati in a start last week. Not a lot of experience for this Reds lineup, obviously, against Nestor Cortez, but Tommy Pham does have 3 walks in 7 plate appearances. So take that for what it is. Nestor Cortez over 1.5 walks at plus 135, and then Valdez over 1.5 at minus 125. I'm going to put Valdez in the walk this way parlay. Usually what I do is I take the ones that are really heavily juiced and I throw them into a parlay. And we actually have had the pretty decent ROI with these parlays so far, even though tisk parlays long-term are bad for your bankroll. But in moderation, half a unit a day, I think it's perfectly fair. Blake Snell over 1.5. Anytime I get 1.5 on Blake Snell, he has not gone under this mark all season. 100% hit rate on Blake Snell's 1.5 walks prop to the over. We got to throw him in there. Martin Perez against the Mariners today, over 1.5. So Martin's seen this Mariners lineup a ton. Obviously, he's been around forever. 17% career walk rate in 82 career plate appearances against this current Mariners lineup. And then I'll throw Valdez in there because I think that's probably my favorite of the two that I gave out solo. And it's minus money, so it kind of fits the profile. Plus 333 on this parlay. Nice even round number there for you if you're a fan of three, I guess. Blake Snell over 1.5, Martin Perez over 1.5, Valdez. Framber is the color of my energy over 1.5. And that's the walk this way parlay for the day.
You like it?
I like that Cortez one for the plus money. I like your angle on that one a lot. And honestly, I haven't done a lot of walk props. I've only done the strikeout ones. I don't know if we have those as much available at the books that I look at, or I'm just not looking good enough. But if I find it, I think I might tell you on the court. Okay.
They are on DraftKings. I don't know what they have access to, but they are on DraftKings.
Okay. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. Danny Burke, we appreciate you. We appreciate your insight. We appreciate your time as the host of Rush Hour Monday through Friday on VSiN7, the Bet River City Cast. Have a great day. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, best of luck with your plays. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. All right. We're taking it from the park to the court because we got some WNBA chat. We're both on the same game today, so we'll quickly go through these before we take it to our play of the days. I'll let you go first because you're on the Liberty getting points today, and I have a total game bet that I'm betting on.
Yeah, so this has become an interesting little rivalry, Vegas and New York. They've played 3 of the last 4 games against each other now, if you include today's game. And it's the reason that I like the Liberty today catching 6 in a hook. There's a few reasons, but the first one, just the start time of the game. It starts in like 20 minutes, 11 a.m. Eastern. You would imagine, and I saw Asia Wilson, the Vegas Aces star player, tweet out the other day, like, we got to play a game at 11 o'clock. So we'll see. Now, it affects both teams. Both teams have to play at the same start time, but at least the Liberty are already on East Coast time. So to me, the start time already, I could see this kind of being one of those nip and tuck games. Now, again, third time these two teams played in the last week. New York lost by 6 on Tuesday. They were down double digits most of the game, but they did creep back in it late, and they covered the 6.5. This was on the road in Vegas. And in last week, the Liberty won, 116-107. They beat them outright, even though this Vegas team was favored in that game. Sabrina Ionescu is an absolute monster. She had a 31-point triple-double in that game, 13 rebounds, 10 assists. That was the highest scoring triple-double in WNBA history. Holy moly. Sabrina Ionescu, baller.
Crazy.
And then, oh, by the way, underdogs this season in the WNBA are covering at a 55% rate against the numbers, 77 and 63. So right out of the gate, you should be considering underdogs if you're betting the WNBA. And I like this dog barking this afternoon with the Liberty covering 6.5 against the Aces. So I don't bet a lot of WNBA. Danielle Alvari, who is another VSiN host, does a fantastic job covering the league. I was able to, collaborate with her last night and get some insight on this game. And I think catching 6.5 is a decent bet later this morning between the Liberty and the Aces.
Yeah, I'm also on the same game. So get these bets in because the game starts in about 20 minutes. I'm like the over 174.5 at minus 110. They played Tuesday, 208 points scored. Then you look at the game before that, it was like 116 to 105 or something like that, which is, again, over 200 points scored. So I look at this 174.5, and I know it's a day game, and they're probably factoring that into it. But the last 2 times these teams have played, that's gone over 200 total points. That's a low total today at 174.5. And Liberty right now, they're averaging 80.2 points per game. You look at the Aces, Offensively, they allowed 116 points at one point, but they're averaging about 86.1 opponent points per game. So I look at this game, and if the Aces are scoring around 90 points per game and Liberty is scoring around 80 points per game, I know it's a close total, but you look at the last two games between these two teams, they both gone over 200 points. I'm kind of following the trend here, and I'm going to take it over 174.5. Only laying 10 cents for it. I think it's going to be a fast-paced game. Not a lot of defense is going to be played. It's going to hit the over. So get those bets in. 20 minutes from now, we got the game starting. So make sure to get it on in. You got the Liberty plus 6.5 and the over 174.5. Before we get into our best bets of the day, Jared, Pickswise.com, who do we got for the 3-star play of the day?
Whew, good question. Let me hit a refresh here, see if anything's changed. Nothing except for tennis and golf. Not a whole lot of updates from the golf. Rory now won, so he just birdied 18. He's 6 under after 18 today. He shot a 66. And I have one amazing nugget on this. If you're looking to bet a live, outright at the Open Championship, 14 Opens at St. Andrews, the winner has sat inside the top 13 and was no more than 3 shots off the lead after round 1. So that's it. Like you go to the top 13 and you go 3 shots back after round 1. And that's most likely your winner at the Open Championship. Now, it might be a little bit skewed because Cameron Young has had such a good day. But I wouldn't be looking at anyone that doesn't finish at like 2 under or worse. Like if you're not 2 or 3 under after today, you're probably not going to win the Open Championship because of the way the scoring is going to be this weekend. So if you're looking to bet an outright, keep your eyes fixated at the top 13 and guys within 3 or 4 shots of the lead. Because at this stage, at this tournament, at this course, you just don't see a ton of variation off of that.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting to see how the Open keeps going over these next couple of days. Jared's going to be up bright and early all weekend long, 4:30 a.m. Eastern time. So yeah, that's going to be super exciting. Okay, our plays of the day. We're both, I know you did the POD poll. Of right now, Valdez is winning your poll. I'm actually using Valdez for my play of the day as well. So
I love it.
I'm taking his strikeout props over 7.5, over 6.5 Ks for Framber Valdez at plus 108. I'm getting it at plus money. I know he's not usually a big strikeout pitcher, but for me, he has basically the best matchup in baseball tonight against the Angels. He played them back on July 3rd. He had a 13 strikeout performance in his last game against the Angels. And the Angels have an awful, awful, awful K rate of 35.7% against lefties over the last 2 weeks. That is ranked dead last in baseball. I'm betting this prop purely based on the numbers. Framber Valdez over 6.5 Ks at plus money, plus 108 after he already struck out 13 guys in the last time he played them. And the Angels are basically striking out 1 every 3 guys. I'm taking the over here, and I like it at plus money. So we're betting the same guy for our play of the day. Please tell me.
Yeah, the people have spoken once again. I'm going to start doing a lot more of this. 2 reasons why. 99.9% of my MLB bets are all for a unit, flat unit bets. I don't do a lot of 2-unit baseball bets unless it's futures. So I have no, there's not a lot of differentiation between Valdez or Cortez or, the Nerfy bet. It's all for the same risk. So I like letting you guys decide what you want to play today. Take some of the pressure off me because I'll be honest, I am not having a great campaign with these PODs. I'm down a lot and I don't like being down. So I'll let you guys take the burden off me. So Framber Valdez over 1.5, laying 25 cents over at Bet365. This is also in our walk this way parlay. So we've got a lot of exposure to Valdez tonight, a little bit more than we normally do. But again, a 76% hit rate on the season with these 13 out of 17, and he's gone over in 7 of his last 8 starts. If it is Trout and Ohtani in the middle, 8 walks and 44 plate appearances against those 2 guys, a 13% overall walk rate in 145 plate appearances against his current Angels lineup. They have seen him a ton, and they are very patient against southpaws. 5 straight lefties have gone over 1.5 walks against the Angels. They have the 6th highest walk rate against southpaws this season at 9.6%. Framber, baby, over 1.5 walks. We're getting back on track tonight. POD, Walk This Way Parlay, Nerfies, St. Andrews, the whole kit and caboodle. Let's go, LJ. Big
Jared's about
Thursday.
to have himself an absolute freaking
Let's
day.
go.
Valdez over K's and Valdez over BB.
Over the
We're
whole
making
thing.
it happen. That is it for us today. Find us on the Pickswise YouTube channel. Go to pickswise.com. Follow us on Twitter. Jared Smith. I'm Lauren Jabara. Best of luck. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's get it. Let's bet it.